All right, after discussing the odds and ends about the new Super Mario Brothers movie and the 1993 movie, we're back ready to bring you some more Overwatch action here. As hey, you're laughing like that's not what we were just doing for like the past 5 minutes here.
I mean, I'm not laughing because you're wrong. I'm laughing because you outed me here on the live broadcast, which, I mean, I guess is better than me outing myself on Twitter, which is what I normally do. But today we're going to watch these two teams out themselves, and really not the embarrassing mistakes that I have a proclivity to make, but rather the proficiency and skill which they execute on their chosen heroes. Coming up next is going to be West Branch versus Everett, and this is a series that I think is going to be very interesting. West Branch and Everett, like Forest Hills and Somerset, not too far away from each other in the standings. West Branch wants to stay undefeated while Everett evens up their record, gets them a little bit closer to that number 5 and 6 spot in Division 1 standings. So, you know, this might be the match to do it in, but you're coming up against some pretty stiff competition.
Yeah, we haven't seen West Branch in a while now, but when we've seen them, they've looked incredible, well, very good. I don't want to say incredible just yet, because we've only seen them for 2 games, but they're very good team, and it really has to do with 2 players in particular, DPS Diff and Ball Diff on the side of West Branch, as they are just the two. They are the difference maker on the side of West Branch.
Well, you know, on the topic of of Ball Diff, I will mention that that players have been deliberating in the lobby during the break about which heroes. I suppose Overwatch now has a pick and ban phase, because there's a couple of heroes that have been banned. Joker, a violation to competitive integrity if any of these heroes are banned, or I'm sorry, if any of these heroes are played this series between these 2 teams. That is going to be Wrecking Ball, Genji, Mei, Orisa, Bastion, and the most egregious offender of them all, Johnny Sins. Already, West Branch has violated the competitive integrity of this match.
So has Everett.
Wait, Everett's done it as well. Wait, my notes say these heroes, man. You can't play them.
Well, they're not outing themselves just yet on the tank roll. Ball Diff on the Reinhardt to try to match Outfox to do very much like Outfox this tank play. It's just, can the team invest enough of their resources into them? And well, it's working out for them so far. DPS Diff in the game slays, already back to spawn. A nice pin in, trying to take down Blaze Donut, but Ball Diff's gonna have to back up here as they're super low, as a nice swing takes out Firelord.
That was a really nice fight from Everett there. They managed to punish DPS Diff for, you know, honestly a really mostly well-executed play onto Blaze Donut. So the punishment came in for the flawed tech, and then after the rest, you know, Everett had really clean rotations and really good target prioritization. And now they're going aggressive, which is absolutely perfect.
And they've already taken down DPS Diff with Fara in the sky, and the Shatter connects to a couple as well as Everett. They're taking the pressure to West Branch early and showing them that maybe this isn't going to be an easy match to win.
No, absolutely not. Everett's going to be coming up on a whole slew of ultimates for this next fight, the first of which is probably going to be Yui's Valkyrie. But Ball Diff is coming into this with Shatter, which is going to land right on to that Mercy player.
When they get the charge somehow, the pin came in from Narnia, able to get the pick in the end. Zelds takes down Firelord with the barrage, but they're so low, they can't really peek out and try to find more damage into these teams. DPS Diff now on the Hanzo. The other Shimada brother working better in fact for West Branch, as it helps them take the point for the first time.
Now all we need is for Blaze Donut to swap off the Mei, and we will be back into the realm of competitive integrity, so long as no one locks Johnny Sins, the most broken Overwatch hero. Blaze Donut is going to make a lot happen with this Blizzard, as long as they can land it on the objective during the mid-fight here. Opening up the fight, actually, We get 2 targets frozen.
Yeah, the Blizzard comes in. The charge from Outfox is there, finally taking the Bread Cat down. The Dragon Strike coming in response. Someone needs to touch here, though, to keep it contested for the time being. But no, they're going to just let it flip over into the favor of the Everett Warriors, forcing them back. Now the Sound Bear going to let them go a little bit more aggro. But a Hanzo arrow to the face does not save you, even with that overhealth coming in from the Sound Bear. Now the Bear in response is DPS diff going wild on the Hanzo, forcing Everett back to spawn.
Yeah, absolutely buck wild, as we might say here in Dallas. And Everett, Everett had a really good presence of mind to make sure that they got that objective and got more progress out of that fight, even though they ended up losing it. For West Branch, they want to make sure that they're holding on to the point now for every fight, because Everett is very close to winning this first round, but the matchup is a lot closer than it may seem.
Yeah, as the Shatter comes out after taking out Fox down, Baldiff does not find any real picks. Well, now they do. Finding the pick onto Yu-Yo and Blaze Donut, winning them this fight. But again, they can't lose another fight. But hey, finding Zeld's there and now building up more ultimates. West Branch are setting themselves up for success here.
Yes, they are, and they're gonna have a couple of ults here into this fight, or really just a couple. That amplification matrix and the dragons. Dragons used early can secure a really good pick here. Fox used the Shatter, doesn't get much. Dragons in and kills 2. That's huge.
Yeah, walking right into the Dragons was Voltage and Blaze Donut. Zeld's tries to turn it with their barrage, but it's not going to be the case. They're forcing them back. It's 4 seconds to go. They need to get there. They need to touch, but I don't think it's going to be possible. No one's going to get there in the end. West Branch come back and take round number 1.
That's definitely one of the closer control point maps that we've gotten to see today, Joker. Honestly, this might be a very, one of the closer matchups that we've gotten to see over the course of the whole TEC High School Spring Series. Man, there's so much that I really liked from the whole team. DPS diff from the Hanzo. I mean, you called it out that whole round. Ball diff and Alfox going ham at each other on the Reinhardt. And there in that last fight, there were traded fire strike kills, which is just always so rewarding to land, especially if it's fire striking a far out of the sky is a lot of fun. I don't know if that was one of the kills. Zelns is going to swap off the Pharah though, onto the double hit scan, kind of hit scan I suppose, as Blaze to find themselves on the Bastion, then back on the Soldier. We'll make up our minds eventually, but at least Everett knows what supports they're running. They'll have to play them pretty well. Going up against Bap Lucio composition with Reinhardt, things might get a little bit hairy here on the well.
Well, the only problem is not having Blaze Donut for this first fight. It's going to cripple the offensive ability that Everett has. They've already lost that one. They've lost Zeld's. Now they need to find more, forcing them back currently. Now the Ravenous Vortex comes through, slowing them down. But DPS diff with this Hanzo still making a difference for West Branch, forcing Everett back.
And that's going to be a point capture for West Branch. Now, Baldiff ends up trading there in the process. I suppose with Blazed and Zeld's going down, Everett is not going to have an easy time pushing this point now. However, it's not going to stop Alfox from pulling out the fists and letting loose onto a couple of the supports. Unfortunately, though, not able to bring up the hands, the arms, I suppose, fast enough to keep themselves alive. There's still kind of a half fight happening here, Joker, where Everett is losing advantages that they might be able to capitalize on otherwise. I just want to see a true reset here, so that then Everett can. Absolutely. Well,
that's got to be where you reset, right? But no, they're still taking this fight in the open. They're letting them get chunked down. The res was onto Zelda, but they're still trying to take this fight. But hey, now they're able to take the game slays out of things. Now that Tactical Visor is no longer on the board for at least this fight, is they're able to come back in response. But the Amp Matrix as well, the Annihilation has to be huge. It's going to connect to everyone. It's going to be a lot of damage coming out, and it's working well for Outfox. You're finding 3 with the Annihilation.
Yeah, that was really good, and you know, our keen-eyed Overwatch viewers will have noticed that that was perhaps one of the most brilliant shield placements I've seen from a Ramatra prior to going into Annihilation or that Nemesis form. After the cage, I was like, okay, you know, the snare, the slow left a little bit desired, but man, the shield was perfect to enable Outfox to live as long as they did. Everett captures the point, but there's another fight to navigate here.
Yeah, as they're gonna go now here, coming back strong, look for this hook, and Blaze Donut did use that Riptide, not gonna find anything as a nice hook comes through, Outfox out in taking a dip in the well as the whole hog as well, finding a value from Ball Diff, coming back strong as West Branch.
You know, I can say now that Outfox is probably a Beweaver, if you will. You know, we're like, oh, Life Weaver control me on Ilios. Well, wouldn't that have been nice to get pulled out by the new support hero had you been Outfox there? It is nice for Outfox to secure the pin there onto the game slays, especially after they'd used the tactical visor. But now you got to touch the point and win that fight.
Yeah, and Blaze Donut already gone before the Sound Mirror can connect, but Zelds is going to look to change this out here. Still, I don't know how Baldiff stayed out of the well there, but in the end, Everett are able to take back this point.
Yeah, it's a 99-42. West Branch had committed some ults, perhaps namely the flippant tactical visor, and you know, the rest weren't able to compensate. So they used the sound barrier, the whole hog. Just means that, you know, there's a little bit more time before we see those deployed again. For Everett, they want a really clean, neutral fight here. No ultimates exchanged, just a one and done fight. Save those ults for the potential last.
Yeah, as now they're gonna look to come in here. The Shatter connects to 3, but there is the Immortality field. But no, the grenade comes through from Blaze Donut. This might set things up for Everett here now with that Valkyrie coming through and the late pick on the Breadcat. They have 20 seconds though, but losing Baldiff could be would not be good right now.
If you're West Branch, you really don't want to lose anyone here because Everett did commit the Valkyrie in a stage of the fight where it wasn't necessary. So that's actually now an advantage for the current attackers. If they can connect to the objective, they might have a stay on there with the Amplification Matrix.
That's a huge entry pick from DPS Diff on with the Dragon Strike. Now they're looking for some shots through the Amp Matrix of Breadcat as the whole hog finds Yu-Yo, and it looks more and more likely here as West Branch sees that overtime bar tick away. The Artillery Strike not able to do anything for Everett as West Branch take the map.
Ooh, that was close. I really thought and was desperately hoping that we were going to a round 3 here between these two teams, because holy smokes, I'm liking what I'm seeing from both of them. You know, I mentioned the Valkyrie, right, from Everett, that ended up being used in that last stage of the penultimate fight, and I think that is interesting because, you know, the Valkyrie isn't the only variable as far as why Everett wasn't able to sustain in that last fight. Like, in a situation like that, if I'm playing Zen, I'm like, oh yeah, it would have been nice to have Transcendence for that one, am I right, guys? But the fact is that, like, you know, when you're playing for the value of those ultimates, and those ultimates don't net you the value that you wanted to get from them, you then change the strategy, right? Because you know you're no longer involving the use of those ultimates in the strategy, right? They've been used. You don't have them, right? So you reposition. You reformat your formation in a way that you're like, we are playing in positions where, since we don't have Valkyrie, we won't need Valkyrie, right? So for, you know, it's interesting, again, you know, to mention, to bring up the use of ultimates, but ultimately what we wanted to see there from Everett was to play back a little bit, force the ultimates out of West Branch, and then just back off onto the sanctity of the objective and say, no, you can come to us now that you used your ultimates in the choke, right? And so very, very interesting matchup. And now that Everett has kind of learned that lesson, that if they play into the aggression or perhaps the desperation of West Branch, then they run bigger risks than they would otherwise. And so that means that Junkertown is going to be an extremely exciting map.
I'm very excited to see DPS diff on Junkertown, just of how well they were playing on Hanzo. Those long sight lines can do such wonders for a long range DPS such as Hanzo. We could see some Ashe as well come out, Widowmaker, Sojourn even, but right now we're seeing the bog standard sniper comp come out from West Branch at the moment.
And the Reinhardt as well, so Ball, Genji, Mei, Orisa, Bastion. None of those heroes being played on this map. Now, Everett now has 2 strikes. They ran the Mei and the Bastion. So, they're losing points of, in the book of Lord Thethan's favor, right? For those violations of competitive integrity after the gentleman's agreement to not play those heroes. But off to a good start here on Junkertown, and I really like the identities of these comps. You've got the long-range poke and the support for it from Everett Warriors, and for West Branch, it's this double sniper damage amplification, block off angles kind of composition. It's a very strong look both sides for Junkertown, so we'll see who gets who nets the win.
The Game Slice had that shot lined up, but did not have the power behind it yet, as the Blaze Donut finds the Game Slaves early on in this fight thanks to the turret. And this is what I was talking about the last match. This could work out very well. Put the turret on the cart, and you have an old school sort of pirate ship composition that you can work behind, as it's still looking good for Everett. They found DPS diff. The res is going to be there though to get DPS diff back in this fight, as the Game Slays is now back in from spawn. The Dragon Strike comes out, knocks down 2, as that should now be, oh goodness, DPS diff finding 4, maybe find 5 question mark, no 5.
Yeah, something like that, and then picks off the best DPS in the game in the last little bit of that fight, and those dragons were pretty meaningful. And not quite as meaningful as the fact that those are some nice connections, nice trade there from both of those one duelists. So it's not as amazing as the fact that DPS diff was able to build those dragons so quickly, but they're already working their way back to another ult.
Duelist, this isn't Valorant. What are we talking about now? As they're forcing back West Branch for the moment, but that Gravitic Flux comes in. Now West Branch are in the upper hand, but this Nemesis form coming in from Outfox forces West Branch to retreat, and now the Annihilation on top of it. This is looking a lot better for Everett to complete this first round. And this was a fight where West Branch had used the Flux, the Valkyrie. They swapped from the Widow onto the Soldier 76, and Everett, all they have to do is the Valkyrie and the Annihilation, and that's it, to help them net that fight win. I was honestly getting a little bit nervous after the conclusion of that first fight for Everett. I was hoping that we wouldn't see a repeat of, just first point full hold, a really clean defending round from West Branch. I wanted to see a little bit more opposition, and I realized I was thinking too soon. Everett able to take that first point. They got 4 minutes in the bank. This is looking really good for an attacking base. Now, as they're going to come in here, a nice shot comes through from the Helix Rockets from the Game Slays to start things off, as DPS diff still finding 2 picks as well for West Branch to get this point back into the favor of the defenses. They're going to be able to get voltage very late there.
But ball diff, it definitely extends pretty deep in order to secure that elimination. Definitely would have been a luxury for Everett to be able to pick them out of the fight, but they had to take a breather on standby to help them live. DPS diff coming up on another Dragons, but Everett has a whole host of ultimates to utilize here in this next fight. So once West Branch makes their move, Everett's going to be all poised to punish.
Yeah, as they're going to look to come in here. The Molten Core is out from the Blaze Donut, but there is ults in response from West Branch as well, finding 2 with the Dragon Strike, the whole hog as well, forcing them away from the cart, as Outfox is looking to stay alive, but that is probably not going to be the case, as the Tactical Advisor chunks them down, and in the end, they're able to take that pick.
You know, for me, it was like a combination in this fight, because that was a whole ult exchange, and nice late picks there
That's some
from
guts.
Baldiff as well. Yeah. Baldiff.
Oh my god!
Holy smokes! And getting away with as much as they are is crazy. Everett, at this point, you just want to back up and reset. And, you know, we kind of mentioned that on Ilios as well, that we just want to see Everett, you know, be a little bit more patient in instances like this. But they're rewarded for their aggression with the pick on a Baldiff.
Yeah, and now the game slays goes down as well. Voltage on the Zenyatta, finding so much value for Everett at the moment. As DPS diff is gonna back up, wait for their respawns of their tank.
I want to see how the next ult phase plays out, but it's going to be a little while until we get to that point. West Branch still working on a couple of theirs, but they will have the Valkyrie against the Transcendence from Voltage. But you can't mitigate these shots from DPS diff.
Can't mitigate anything from the Diff duo. Coming in for West Branches. Ball Diff and DPS Diff lock down the point for West Branch, getting it down to under a minute and 30.
And you know, you start to reach the danger zone if you're the attackers here at this point. Alfox, I think, had used the Shatter in that last fight, and unfortunately not to much avail. Though Firelord had also been compelled to use the Valkyrie. So, you know, again, both teams kind of trading out some of these ultimates that you can build back relatively quickly, or that, you know, when they miss, it's, you know, not a big deal. Really, again, we're coming up on some really meaningful ults here, starting with the Dragons.
Yeah, they're, again, finding Yu-Yo out of the fight early on with the Dragon Strike. This Ant Matrix coming out as well, forcing them back, because that's just a lot of damage coming in from West Branch, and not even Flex Tape, I don't think, can fix that. But that's gonna be no, that's so rude. What? Well, why?
No,
why would you?
I'm penalizing West Branch for that one. Baldiff, you know, you're losing more points in my book for that one. Is solo ulting at point blank range, a fellow Zenyatta main. How dare you? The audacity of Baldiff to do that, but also quite audacious for Alfox to be on the objective without the rest of the Everett Warriors there.
Yeah, and then the Baldiff does go down in the midst of the res coming in on to the game slays, as the res is there. The Transcendence is there, sorry, to keep them up and healthy during that tactical visor. Is now the Blaze Donut on the Bastion, finding good value in the midst of all that. With the Blizzard coming through, Everett are able to get to the second point.
Okay, so that's really interesting. Oh, man. Okay, all right. I could go on for hours about that one, but essentially I'm going to chalk it up to the previous ult exchange that I was going to remark on before we talked about Baldiff just absolutely going crazy on the Roadhog. It was kind of determined by the fact that the nature of the Everett Warriors' ultimates compelled them to push too far in, and West Branch was able to punish. And then that ult exchange was based off the fact that Alfox was able to make space to justify the use of those ultimates, and Everett comes out on top of that. Very, very technical stuff, but there's another fight to cast, but that's so cool. This match is so good.
It really is. Blaze Donut pumping in all the damage in the end, but the Heliotrocket takes them out of their artillery strike mode, takes that ultimate off the board, and well, they're back to spawn after getting rezzed back up thanks to the game slays yet again, as Baldiff on the Hog still running, going hog wild on Everett.
I see what you did there. And as well, just consistent shots, consistent plays being made by really everyone in the lobby, but every time it's the defenders winning a fight, we have to comment on West Branch and their proficiency. The Dragons and the Whole Hog both used to shut down. Even the opportunity for Everett to touch is massive.
Yeah, and I don't think they're going to be able to get there in the end, as West Branch hold on point number 3 here. But this is the you know what, silver linings. We saw third point today. That's that's pretty new. That's pretty new for us.
That is really new for us. You know, do we get that third map now? Can I be greedy and say, Everett, give me my third map? Hey, you know, I can. Definitely want Everett to walk away with a win here on Junkertown, but yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Patience, young Skywalker.
It's definitely, they've definitely set themselves up for that possibility, as Junkertown, like all escort maps, either you're, it's not factual. There's no facts behind this, but I always feel like the escort is all or nothing. You either see all the points or you see none of the points besides point one. And right now we saw all 3 points. We didn't see the completion, which goes against my entire theory. But we got to third point here instead of getting stopped at second point.
I mean, here's the thing, Joker, and this is crazy because you and I very, very infrequently agree with each other, right? You're absolutely right. The escort game mode is the most straightforward endeavor of all of the game modes, right? All you got to do is push all the way in or hold all the way at that first point. And so that's why I've always said to my solo queue ranked teams after we get full held on first point, I'm like, guys, don't worry. The first point full hold on any escort map is not a complicated endeavor. That's what Everett is saying to themselves right now, but man, is the game slays making things a little bit more complicated here.
Yeah, they definitely are. The res is going to be there. The rivet gun trying to find anyone with those the pray and spray method coming in from Blaze Donut is now as Elds was wrapping around looking for the DPS in the back line there, and they're going to be found out and not swiftly dealt with as the Blaze Donut is going to be the one to take down DPS diff early on. The sleep dart was there on the outfox, but still staying alive, coming in as but not for much longer. The game slays find Yuyo out of this fight. Still no one really finding the upper hand yet here, Lord Ethan.
Nah, Everett's holding strong. They got the Shatter coming up on a Molten Court. I'll follow up on that. And the Game Slays and DPS Diff are both walking away with a couple of reasonable trades here. And the Fire Lord and Yui to bring people back with a revive, but no real progress attained quite yet. For Everett, this is a massive boon, being able to draw time out of the bank. But for West Branch, it's not bad either to have, one or, kind of halfway lost a couple of fights there on, or a couple of half fights there on first point, because now they have ults to use. Maybe might have wanted to save the Nano for a little bit longer there from Bread Count to Ball Diff, but the fact is that now we're coming up on the infrared sights, the Dragons, and have the Valkyrie and Whole Hog.
Yes, now they're going to look to come into this. If DPS Diff can get this Dragon Strike up now, that would have been huge. Everyone was in that little room, but now they have it available, and they can deal with the oncoming onslaught from Everett whenever they decide to touch the point, but maybe they don't touch. No, okay, let's just not touch the point in the end. DPS Diff can hold on to the Dragon Strike here and use it for future endeavors.
Yes, that's exactly right. Perhaps to knock off the defenders off this high ground position, which is always so conventionally powerful here on Junkertown. Blaze Donut might actually be setting themselves to get picked off here. Oh, they go critical and then eliminated. So, not too long after the rest of the team is resetting, but, definitely there are times where, as I like to call it, you just want to turn around and walk away. But that is not going to be the name of the game here for Outfox, looking to take a duel against Ball Diff, and maybe having to play a little bit safer as a result.
Yeah, now they're going to come in here find Outfoxed, and they've already got another pick coming in as well. I guess not. They were able to rotate away from the onslaught of Ball Diff, but, when you're dealing with the DPS, or the Diff duo, you're going to have to work with DPS Diff as well, shattering them, trying to take them out of the fight. The Riptire comes through as well, takes out both of the support to stall out West Branch's attack here.
And they will succeed in doing so. Now, West Branch was able to go into that fight with only the Valkyrie, so they're not really super punished here because they've got ults to win the next fight. Essentially what they've done is, Ball Diff has kind of thrown the Whole Hog into the dumpster, which, it's Ball Diff. It doesn't really need the Whole Hog, but might have been nice. What West Branch essentially did was force Everett to use some of their most powerful cooldowns, and now they won't have them to this fight. Maybe they don't need them.
Yeah, so now they're going to come in with the nano boost onto Ball Diff. The Game Slay is already out of this fight, but that's going to be a lot of damage, but they still have not found a pick off the back of that nano boost, as it's looking good for Everett here to continue to hold on, but they still have to do it for another 2 minutes and 20 seconds.
Such marvelous care there delivered onto Alfox from the support players of Everett, or I suppose the supporting Everett Warriors. So Yui and Voltage able to use their ults to keep Outfox alive there, but it might not have been the most worthy investment. You might have wanted one of those ults, especially now that the infrared science has been deployed by the Game Slays.
As now they're going to look to come in here. They've got those sights on, like you said, but I feel like this swap has to be coming soon from the Widowmaker here. It's just not. It really was indeed. But back to what I was saying about the Widowmaker, it's not really working out for you in the secondary phase. But thankfully, the rest of West Branch are coming in strong. Ball Diff and DPS Diff on the point, finding all the picks they need for West Branch to complete point number 2.
I think Baldiff just got trapped 2 consecutive times in like a 10-second window, which is always really funny to me to see. Nice trap placements from Zelds. And, for Baldiff, I guess it's just a movement gap. Don't walk in traps forehead. But hey, Baldiff is making plenty of space for DPS Diff to capitalize on it. Forces the revive from Yui.
Yeah, the Shatter comes through, but doesn't connect to anyone. The res is there on to Blaze Donut, because they need to keep them in this fight. It's down to this last fight territory, but you've already lost Blaze Donut, but thankfully, or the Riptire finds Ball Diff. The res is going to be there, and they're still finding picks is West Branch, and things are looking poorer and poorer for Everett, because DPS Diff, he keeps finding the heads of your supports, and you can't heal through all that headshot damage as West Branch take the map and the series in a 2-0 fashion.
Yep, 2-0, but not a decisive fashion. This was definitely the closest series that we had this afternoon. One of the most entertaining ones for sure, and definitely one of the greatest learning opportunities for both of these teams. Walking away with some really incredible lessons that, at least in my case, took like 5 or 6 years to learn, and now you get those lessons, those same lessons from one match. And I think that's incredibly valuable. For West Branch, being able to solidify their standings in the high school, the Overwatch High School Series is absolutely vital. And for West Branch, oh my lord, am I losing my mind? I think I am losing my mind. For Everett, for Everett, they walk away with a really good set of win conditions, or pieces of information that makes their next matchup against West Branch so much more winnable. So when we get to see. If we get to see, I'm crossing my fingers right now, if we get to see a rematch between these two teams, it's definitely going to be one of the most exciting kind of re-clashes that I think we've ever seen this year.
I don't know if we'll see them until playoffs. I think that's probably when we will see that any other rematches, because we do actually have a pretty big slate of teams this year. Yeah. So that's nice. But I think. Yeah, you nailed the head on the coffin. I think some things change in the favor of Everett. I think we're talking about a completely different series here. Yeah. But, we need to keep talking about, and whenever we talk about West Branch, is that diff duo on the side from them. As they're just diffing the enemy team. And whenever one's getting shut down, the other one's popping off. And I think that's really the keys to beating West Branch in the future.
Yeah, dealing with one or both of the heads of the Hydra so that 2 more cannot take its place. That's absolutely part of it. And, Ball Diff and DPS Diff, I'll chuckle and chortle at the mistakes all day long. The fact is that at the end of the day, they are part of the essential win conditions that West Branch have lined up. And the fact that the rest of West Branch is more than well aware of this and are formatting their strategies, compositions, play styles to accommodate the fact that the clutch potential of these two, really actually just the consistency factor of these two players, is a demonstration of just the the team synergy that you want from every esports team, regardless of the level, regardless of the title. You want to be playing for each other, and that's that's something that I really love seeing from West Branch. For all the snarky fun I poke at you guys, it's such a blast to watch all of the teams in the high school and TEC high school series really demonstrate their team synergies, because every team has their own way of doing so.
You know what I really need, and I hope it's next week, another top 5 team, like the teams in the top 5 matchup.
Oh yeah.
I mean, because we already saw that last week. I'm going on completely off topic here, but I'm excited to see when West Branch can play like team like Greater Johnstown or Winburn or Hollidaysburg or Shade, to see if they can live up to the hype of West Branch at the moment, because they're still 3-0, but is that a 3-0 because they've played lesser teams than them, or is it because that team is just stacked? And we won't know until we see them either in the playoffs or against one of those top 5 teams.
I mean, we really won't know until the playoffs, and one team out of this massive slate is crowned the champions of the TEC High School Spring Series.
And hopefully we're gonna be there in person. That's the hope. That's the hope. If we keep saying it enough, maybe they'll finally listen to us and get us there for the for the land finals.
Joker, we're Overwatch casters. No one's gonna listen to us.
Yeah, true. That's true. But hey, maybe we can dream. We can dream. But that's going to be it from us today. It's so great to be back with my buddy Lord Ethan.
Oh, it's so good to be back, Joker.
Even though he makes fun of my shoulder bag on Twitter. Make sure to actually follow us on Twitter, Joker's Ransom, Lord Ethan. Thank you to Vaca for filling in for Gatago today on the Division 1 stream. Thank you all for watching. Peace out, and see you next week.